Hi, welcome to the Tecman podcast. We hope to introduce some of the bigger topics around Dynamics to you on a regular basis, fill you in on all the news that you don't want to hear just once a year. Thank you.
So James, a lot of customers at the moment are thinking about licensing options. We've talked a lot about that at the Customer Day this year and last year. There's different options coming out all the time. But actually what the customers want to know is what's the most cost efficient, what should they be doing, what protects them in the future, how should they spend their money on licensing now. So I'm going to ask you some difficult questions.
Okay.
As if I am the customer. So I am today representing the customers.
It's an important topic. You know, if you look at the 26% that customers have traditionally spent on keeping their dynamic system going, 16% of that goes on licensing. So 2/3. So making sure that that's right and just paying it every year is not necessarily the right thing to do. Okay,
so I'm on NAV 2016, 2017. I've paid my enhancement plan every year for the last 8-9 years. Don't really want to upgrade. Should I carry on paying it?
Well, that's a question. If you've paid it for 9 years and you've not used, what is an enhancement plan? It basically gives you the rights to the latest software, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're paying it every year and you're not taking that latest software, what are you getting for your money? Nothing. And if you look at 16, you don't have to multiply 16 too many times before you get to 100, where actually you'd be better off cancelling your EP and saving the money and buying the software again. Actually, you wouldn't do that though. You wouldn't buy a traditional license again. We don't sell them at all really these days. I say at all, occasionally we do, but it's a rarity. Most customers these days go on to subscription.
Okay, so if I cancel if I don't pay it, what are the consequences?
If you don't pay it, then we cannot use any updates that come from Microsoft. Now, if you go back before 2016, remember those versions have actually dropped out of the Microsoft support lifecycle now. So there's not going to be any updates for them anyway. So your only way of getting value from that EP is to upgrade. If you're not planning on doing that, I'd then start to ask the question, why not? Because you're missing a whole bunch of benefit. But, there is, for a lot of people who are back there, actually the advice would be, have a look. And it may be that you drop that license because you historically had a lot of stuff on that license that you no longer use, maybe a lot of users that you no longer use and so on. So the maintenance is quite a high value. And if you switch to a brand new subscription, even if you were going straight away, the cost would be lower than paying 16% of that historical figure.
What we're saying is the better way I could spend that cash.
Yes.
So I'm on NAV 2016, got a load of bespoke.
Yeah.
Even if I pay the enhancement plan, it might give me access to the software, but it's not going to get me an upgrade for free, is it?
No, because you get the new version of the standard software. You don't get your version of the software.
So, and actually, my bespoke is all in the old Cal code anyway, and isn't compatible with the latest version of Business Central.
Absolutely
so
right.
Potentially better way to spend.
Yeah,
spend that money in 2-3 years' time. There's potentially a better way for me to spend that.
So,
cash.
and if you're up to date now with your enhancement plan, EP as we sometimes shorten it to, you can take the latest version of the software. So you can take the version of the software up until you stop playing your EP. So actually that means, we're advising everybody who's on those older versions, 2015, 2016, so on, to jump to BC14, where you were paying your enhancement plan when BC14. So providing kind of the week before your enhancement plan expires, we go and get a BC14 license, you have the rights to use that BC14 software. Then we can spend a couple of years spending your EP on actually converting all your customizations to extensions. And then when it's all as extensions and it's compatible with a new world, we can then cut that, go and buy a new subscription license, move you onto SaaS, and take you forward on that new plan. So
that sounds great. The only downside I would say is that I can't add to that license, can I? If I convert it now and then I need some new users, I'm a bit stuck because, I need to add something new to my license. I can't do that.
That's correct. At the point at which your EP, you stop paying your enhancement plan, that license is locked at that day in effect. So we can't then go to the licensing system at Microsoft and say we want a new license with anything extra on it, objects as well as users.
So cancelling it could be the right thing to do, but it needs some thought. It needs a conversation.
It does need a little bit of
to
planning.
decide if it's the right thing.
It does need a little bit of planning.
Okay, so let's think about a different scenario then. So I'm on BC 14, so I've kept up to date all the way through. I've got a mixture of extensions and CalCode, and I pay an annual enhancement plan at the moment. What should I be thinking about in terms of licensing now?
So one of the reasons this is a really hot topic at the moment is Microsoft have introduced this new way of paying the enhancement plan that they're saying is only valid for this year. So you have a one-time on your renewal date from last June through to next June is your only opportunity to jump onto that.
Okay, nice for cash flow this year, which might be helpful for some.
So yeah, because when they first introduced it last June, what it allowed you to do was effectively move your enhancement plan to a monthly subscription. Effectively, that was what you got for it.
And when it started, I think it was about cash flow, wasn't it? It was about spreading the cost over 12 months, but it's kind of gone on from there, hasn't it now? And there's some other benefits.
I'm a little cynical because Microsoft introduced it and said it was all to help their customers through COVID. And I'm sure it was, but actually also it was to help Microsoft hit their bonuses because they moved the licenses.
Microsoft want everyone on CSP, don't they? They want everybody on subscription.
Cloud service provider, Wall Street gives Microsoft a lot of credit for moving people. They're in a big race with Amazon and Oracle and all the other cloud providers. And the CSP, the cloud service provider license, it's a different piece of paper that gives you the license to use the software. It is just a different piece of paper. Nothing else changes. But when it's CSP, they can count it as cloud revenue, so it counts in their race with Amazon. If it's the traditional license, it doesn't. And so, clearly they're trying to keep up with Amazon in this world.
Okay, so that's the benefit for them then. What about me as a customer? I transfer my license to a CSP for this year. Helps my cash flow. I pay it over 12 months. Do I get any other benefits for it? And what happens at the end of that 12 months?
So if you're on that program, at the end of 12 months, it carries on. You can carry on, they're saying, for another 2 years. So you only have one opportunity to get on the bus, but the bus will keep rolling for the next couple of years. What additional benefits do you get? Well, in order to kind of, again, the cynic in me coming out, in order to kind of get that this is cloud tick.
Too old and too cynical now, James. We've been here too many times.
Maybe. Well, in terms of Microsoft licensing, I think I've a few reasons to be cynical. So, in order to get that cloud, what some people call cloud washing badge, to make it valid as a cloud product, they actually give you the cloud version of Business Central. So you may not use it, but there is a cloud instance with, all the servers, everything that goes together. You go to the web page, you log on to it, it's there ready to use. Now, you can still use your on-premise version, but you can also use that cloud version. So actually, if you're planning on going to, SaaS, to the cloud version at some point, and I think, I would be very clear that probably should be in people's minds as their long-term roadmap because it's the direction of travel, then that's a great opportunity to actually get used to it. I mean, we've used that instance as a test instance. So instead of having to have tests, databases set up, you can just refresh it whenever you want. It's a lot easier to do so. We can deploy stuff from AppSource into that test instance, so you can try out a third-party product before you actually have to pay to put it into your on-premise system. And you could move, for instance, if you have multiple companies, a lot of our clients have multiple companies, and maybe a smaller holding company or a foreign if you've got a foreign subsidiary in your GB database.
Oh, nice. Try it out, get the localization.
Because you can spin that up on the cloud. You can have the French version or the US version or wherever.
Okay.
Because you can do that in the cloud.
I get to pay monthly.
Yes.
So I don't pay any more.
So So we've had a feedback from a lot of customers that they didn't want to pay monthly. You know, the amount of money that their EP...
I'll come on to that in a minute, because I want you to answer first. I pay monthly, I don't pay any more.
You don't pay, you pay exactly the same amount as you would have paid in EP, just divided by 12.
Same next year, same the year after.
Providing,
what happens then? And what stops Microsoft?
Same next year or the year after, providing you don't add anything extra. But if you add something extra, you add it at the cloud pricing, not the traditional license pricing.
So that's another massive benefit. If you are considering adding users, then you get the option to add those at a cost per month, a monthly subscription, which is how much at the moment? Depending on whether you're standard.
Depending on whether you're essentials or premium, it's 57. Where's the commercial
50,
people? I don't know pricing.
50 odd or 70 odd, but it's a lot different to the almost £2,000
yes.
for an additional user.
Because you pay that £2,000, you then pay 16% on that £2,000, even in the first year.
Okay, so if I wanted to add users, then there's some benefit. But what stops Microsoft increasing the price?
So one, the price is locked for that 3 years.
So the price is locked for 3 years. What about after that?
At the end of that 3 years, you will have the option to revert back to the traditional licensing. I can't see Microsoft are going to want to go to Wall Street and go, oh, we've suddenly lost hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue because people have reverted back to the old form of licensing.
I think the message there is that we only know what we know now, and that there is a possibility.
They say as a public company, they're not able to guarantee pricing more than 3 years into the future. Okay, fine. I'm not an expert in the rules around, especially US companies on that, but I think they have a big incentive to keep you on the cloud licensing once you're there. And if if significant people show that they're going to revert back, they'll sharpen the pencil. Okay.
I want to take advantage of I've been able to try out the SaaS platform, but I don't want to go monthly. I want to keep to annual costs. So I can still do that as well.
Too much faff to pay 12 invoices and have 12 payments. Fine, you can do that now. They've introduced that in the last couple of months, in effect, where now you can do the same thing, but you can pay 12 months in advance, but you're paying under a CSP EP. So it's the new type of licensing, and you do get the SaaS tenant, whether you use it or not.
So that's worth thinking about as well then. What about if I'm on...
Can I be stronger than that? I mean, I think... I don't understand why a client wouldn't take that, because you're getting more. Whether you use it, you have the option to use it some point later in the year. You have a one time a year choice, so it's only at that point we can't go halfway through the traditional EP
and up till when can I do that?
So next June officially, but they introduced it in such a complicated fashion that nobody understood it for the first few months, and so announced it so late. I, again, would be amazed if it didn't continue for at least kind of another 6 months up till December. I think they'd be crazy to finish it, because the people whose renewal was in June, July and August,
they didn't get
a chance to understand what this new scheme was. We didn't either, if we're honest, until and you were looking for the catch. You were trying to say, okay, this sounds too good to be true. Where is the catch? And we haven't found one yet.
Okay. And what about if I'm still using a SPLA license?
Oh, the old. Well, there's a couple of subscription licenses.
A very expensive option now. If you're still paying for a SPLA license, that is a significant cost.
So that was the Service Providers License Agreement. It was the original, it was introduced when cloud first came in, but it wasn't proper cloud. It was us providing a cloud in a data center. That method of doing it now is largely obsolete. You certainly wouldn't do that for any new clients going into it. That licensing method is still there, but is limited to, I think, NAV 2018. I don't think Business Central ever went into it.
And this is the problem, isn't it?
So you're locked into that old version.
Our customers that remain on supplier licenses will be on 2018 or earlier. If they want to convert to a CSP, which would offer significant cost savings per month, then they would have to upgrade.
They would, but we've still got this concept of upgrades are lots of hassle. I'm thinking of customers particularly on kind of NAV 2017 and 2018. A lot of those customizations are a lot easier to convert. The key was...
Absolutely. And actually, if the people are on supplier licenses, the chances are they haven't got huge, complex, bespoke databases. Some might, but a lot
of one or two.
There's one or two exceptions to this, but in our customer base, a lot of the customers still on supplier licenses could convert to a later version and a CSP license quite easily, and the payback would come quite quickly.
And actually, they are prime, I think. The smaller ones certainly are prime for going to SaaS. And they would save a bunch of money. You could probably say that the cost of the project of migrating to SaaS they would get payback for that in 12, 18 months because of then the reduced subscription cost for the SaaS CSP subscription.
Exactly. Yeah, so the payback.
So there's paybacks relatively quickly, and they get a better system.
Version. You're on SaaS, you've got your upgrades included.
Never pay for another upgrade, it's...
Yeah, that's got to be tempting, hasn't it?
Yes.
And in theory, you come in the morning and your upgrade's done.
But even the older, bigger ones, the key for me was, Microsoft introduced these things called events, little hooks that we could hook into, and they came out in 2016. Now, 2016, again, it was new, so if you're on 2016, chances are a lot of your customizations didn't use them. Because there weren't many and they were brand new and it was too new. But 2017, 2018, we understood them by then. And if we were doing customization, we very much tried to use events. Now that means that the move to an extension,
it's relatively straightforward.
I wouldn't say it's a cut and paste, but it's
much more straightforward.
Lot closer to a cut and paste. So, again, your cost to migrate to extensions and therefore to SaaS properly, it works. The other thing that you have, the other option that we haven't talked about is the so-called dual use license. So when you subscribe to a full CSP cloud license, the proper, if you like, SaaS license, if you don't want to use Microsoft's cloud instance, you don't have to. We can go and get what's called a dual usage, and that is a traditional NAV Business Central license. We still use the same licensing system to cut those licenses. So we can create a license that in fact is almost identical to the one that you had on premise. Now, a couple of things with that. One, objects. Every month, we write a number of invoices to our clients for 10 more tables or 100 more pages because there's another bit of customization you want and we have to go produce those licenses. On dual use, the object range 50,000 to 100,000 is included on the license.
So no more objects.
So that you don't have to pay for those logic. And remember, every time you pay for those, every time you buy, how much is 10 tables?
I've got it. I'm probably out of date again. Wesley,
500 quid? 500 quid or something like that?
Probably more than that now.
But then you have to pay 16% on that 500 quid, and you'll pay 16% forevermore.
Yeah. And you used to be able to buy them individually, and they stopped that. You can only buy them in packs. So if you need...
But if you then later, 12 months later, move to the CSP EP license, okay, that's based on the maintenance currently. So you're going to be paying that money for certainly 3 years and a long time, and you've got to kind of say...
So actually every customer should be looking at their licensing now and looking at the best option.
I think when it comes up for renewal, our account management team, which...
Yeah, we should be having
your team, I'm sorry, have got a really hard job because in effect they've got to fill it in and work out the different options and then put it down. And it is... This is licensing, so it's not straightforward. But
yeah, we should probably put a disclaimer in to say that anything that we say today is only valid as at today, because next week it could be different.
And I hope it's correct. Yes, but yeah, absolutely. It does change regularly, but it is worth renewing. We have a lot of clients that, that invoice comes in every year and they just go, oh yeah, same as last year, sign it off and just pay it. Actually, I think that's wrong. And in fact, it should be looked at. We give you 90 days notice of your license renewal. And the reason we do that is so that you've got 90 days to actually say, I don't want this, I want something else.
Think about it, talk to us, and we'll help you work out the most cost-effective way of doing it along with your strategy for the next few years. And so it all fits and aligns. So James, explain to me exactly what is a CSP license?
So a CSP license, Cloud Service Provider license, Microsoft introduced it, I guess 4 or 5 years ago now. It's for cloud subscriptions, as the name says. You've probably already got it if you've got Office 365.
Okay. Are there any other benefits of transferring to a CSP license?
Well, a CSP license, you kind of have a license account and you can add on lots of different licenses onto that record, if you like. And some of you might have used the Office 365 Admin Center that you get, which comes with Office 365. And you go in and you can assign licenses to your users, and then they can download the software just like they do with Office, obviously with Business Central, and also now, sales engagement, customer service, what used to be called CRM. There's no software to download. It's all web-based, effectively, although you've got apps that you can use on your phone and your tablet.
So I just order the add-on and it allows me to use all these different products all under the same umbrella, all under this CSP license. So I don't have to set up new users, new licenses. It all sits under one umbrella.
Yeah, that's right. Somebody starts, you just set them up as a user, and then you just say they need this, they need this, they need this, and tick the boxes. And if you've got the license in your account, that works. And one of the other nice things about CSP is that Microsoft, for one of the first times I can ever remember, are rewarding loyalty, so that you have these things called add-on licenses. That means if you have a CSP license for Business Central, even if it's your CSP EP, your maintenance for your Business Central on-prem system, you can do an add-on which gets you sales engagement or customer service. Now, it's the professional edition, but if I say that the professional edition, has lots of the features that I think the majority of our customers would use, it's perfectly adequate. It's not the enterprise edition. The enterprise license for CRM is something like £90. If you have it as an add-on for the professional edition, an add-on to your CSP EP license, it's £15.10 a month.
Bargain, especially if you want to try it out. And there's no infrastructure costs. That's all in. You just spin it up and it's ready to go.
Yeah, and let's, CSP, again, you can reduce the license to one license for 12 months. That's the minimum commitment. So, again, trying it out is not, you can turn it on. It's a subscription, right? So you can turn it on, you can turn it off again. You're not committed to it. Go and try it out. Maybe a good thing to do in lockdown too, while you've perhaps got a little bit more time off the road for your salespeople, for instance.
Okay. And how long do I get that offer for? So if I decide that I want to start using CRM or sales professional, or whatever it's called today, and I take out one of these add-on licenses at £15 today, how long does that offer stay for? At what point does it revert to the standard pricing of £90 per user per month?
So it doesn't. It's there in perpetuity. Potentially, I think the end date on the offer is something like 2099. So I doubt any of us are going to be worried about that. and CSP licensing, subscription pricing can change. Traditionally, Microsoft have revised the pricing every January. They give it a slight tweak depending on exchange rates, etc. But
I'm not going to suddenly lose. I'm not going to suddenly lose my add-on offer.
No, I don't think that's that's never happened before, and I can't see why Microsoft would do that. I haven't read their terms and conditions end to end. I have better things to do with my life than go through all that small print. But I can't see that they would do that because you would simply stop subscribing. It's not going to be worth £90. But when you consider the cost of employing somebody in, say, a sales or a customer service role on a monthly basis, giving them a tool that's really good for their use for £15.10 doesn't sound a huge amount of money to me compared to what that individual's going to cost. If it makes them 2% more effective, they're surely going to. It's surely going to get paid
I don't
back on
think we come across any organisation that couldn't make good use of some or of the CRM product. Whether they use it for sales or whether they use it for kind of aftercare, account management, complaint management, all those different kinds of things. There's not a single customer we have that couldn't get some benefit.
And look, if you're worried about the price going up, what they do have is they have, you can take it on the standard add-on SKU for 12 months. Well, actually, sorry, you can take it on the standard add-on SKU for a couple of months at £15.10. And then if you decide that this is really good for your organisation, you can switch on to a 3-year fixed price SKU. So they will fix the price for the next 36 months at £15.10. You can't cancel once you're on that SKU.
Yeah,
so that's the disadvantage.
That's just weighing up the best thing for you, isn't it? You might get it, but you get locked into it then, don't you? Which is the beauty of a CSP on Business Central or on CRM is the ability to increase, decrease, cancel, add.
Yeah. In lockdown 1 last year, we had customers who came back to us and for 3 months they cancelled their CSP for CRM. Because actually, if they were doing that across 10, 15 people, that added up to an amount of money and kind of those people were furloughed, so they weren't allowed to use it anyway. So in that respect, they saved themselves a chunk of money. So you can turn it off and you can turn it on.
That's the beauty of the flexibility, isn't it? That you can do that, which you don't have with a traditional license.
This is cloud, right? So, having that flexibility is there. Hands up, you pay for some of that. But I still think when you look at all of the options around the cloud offers and you look at the traditional on-prem pricing these days, that's why I said earlier, nobody buys the traditional license anymore. It's all around the subscription.
Okay, so kind of in summary then, what we're saying is that each customer is an individual case. We can work with each customer to look at what they've got, what their strategy is for the next few years, and advise them which of the licenses are best for them, taking into account things like the add-ons that they may get some benefit from as well.
Well, look, the licensing just needs to support what your organisation needs from its business system. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't. It's wrong when licensing sets the agenda. It should support the agenda, not dictate it. And so, what we need to understand is we need to understand what your plans are for migration to the latest Business Central, maybe over how many years, what's that going to involve, what add-ons you think you're going to want in the future to support your business, what ambition you have to do new things, and how that all comes together. And then we sit down and go, right, the right way to get from the licensing you have today to the licensing you need that, gives you the most amount of money left to invest in that change rather than spend on ongoing licensing.
You don't want to save money at the expense of not getting all of the benefit of the software that you've got. So we can work with each individual customer to work out the best options for them.
you look at the minimum wage in the UK, so your cost of employment is always going to massively outweigh the cost of the software. So we need to have a look at, how, if people have licenses they're not using, that's clearly waste. If they have licenses that they're not using fully, that again is waste, and we need to help them to make good use of those licenses. That's education.
How many times in the old days of concurrent licensing would you go onto site and nobody could log in? And we're like, can somebody log out so I can do this? Can somebody... That is inefficient, isn't it? People not being able to log onto the system when they need to because they're at max number of licenses.
Absolutely, but you also had, you had the organisations that had 20 concurrent licenses more than they ever needed, because they paid £2,000 a licence for them. That was 40 grand. They knew if they gave that up, they'd never get it back, and so they kept them and paid for them every year just in case they grew again. Or it went the other way. So this cuts both ways. So
it's a minefield. Licensing is a minefield, but we have the expertise. We can help. We can make sure that the money is used right in the best way.
That's the root of this. It's using the funds in the most effective way. Why wouldn't you want to do that? And for me, I cannot understand why, for the majority of our customers, I think it will be the very small exception where CSPEP, enhancement plan, is not the right way. And if that turns out to be the case next year, you can switch back anyway. So what have you got to lose?
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, James.
Okay, my pleasure. Thanks for listening to episode 1 of Tecman Talks Dynamics. We'll be doing these on a regular basis, so keep tuned in, subscribe, and get the latest information about dynamic systems for your business. Thank you.